Most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family, never forgetting where we came from. Most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family, never forgetting where we came from.
How's everybody doing out there on this beautiful day? You are now rolling with the D. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating in growth and mindset development. I'm your host, Sunny D. Got a great show for you tonight on this beautiful Tuesday night. It's December 9th, 2014. Where in the world are you? Where are you at? Where's your head at? Where's your mind at? Where's your business at? Are you ready to take it to the next level? If you are, then you are in the right place. You're in the exact place you should be, rolling with the D, where I come to you on a daily basis to give you some inspiration, some motivation, maybe a little irritation, information that will get you going, help you grow your business, help you grow your brand, help you grow your life, help develop your mindset, because it's all about mindset. If you're listening on the podcast, you're on iTunes, you're a subscriber to our podcast, we appreciate you subscribing. Make sure you're sharing the podcast with your friends and family, and if you can, please leave us a review in the iTunes store. Leave us a rating. Let us know what you think of the podcast. What that does is it helps distribute the content and get it in front of more people that could use the information and that can subscribe as well. 100% free to you. So thanks for tuning in. If you're watching us live on Ustream.tv using their mobile app, or you're on a desktop, maybe you saw a Facebook post about the show or something on Twitter. However you got here, I appreciate you tuning in. Going to bring you a nice message tonight that really I was inspired by a movie that I recently rewatched again. And some of you guys may have seen this movie. It's actually a true story, based on a true story, based on the life and happenings of a guy by the name of Jordan Belfort. And the movie is called Wall Street. In the movie, though, it was Leonardo DiCaprio that got to play the role of Jordan Belfort. And he did a phenomenal job. I did some research on the actual guy, and before the movie ever came out, I read the book Wolf of Wall Street, which the movie, it's about a 3-hour flick. I mean, it's unbelievable. Martin Scorsese directed it, one of the greatest film directors of our time. And he did, in an interview, talk about, the length of the movie. And he said initially, when he set the movie up, initially it was over 6 hours. It's like 5 to 6 hours. And then he had to go and edit it to try to compact it and get it down to 3 hours, because the initial run was way longer. And so he had options there, right? He could have thought about maybe splitting it into two, splitting it, into parts or something like that. But they got it down to about 3 hours. So you're going to sit there, but the story is unbelievable. And like some of the stuff, you're like, there's no way that this guy, lived this crazy kind of lifestyle. But he did. But the big thing that, I took away in watching it again, second time, and I'll watch it a third time, was about just storytelling in general. And so I went through, my archives, and I pulled up one of the scenes, one of the clips from the movie, where he's having this meeting, with his sales team, and which he does on a regular basis. That was one of the things he was famous for. And during the meeting, he would do unbelievable things. I mean, just he would tell stories. He would, talk about the vision, the direction. A lot of what you're probably doing, if you're a leader in an organization, if you're a visionary, maybe you're a business owner, maybe you're, just managing one department. So a lot of that's going to be you communicating with your team and you helping develop the strategy, develop their mindset, develop the direction and the systems, making sure that they're on point and they're moving in the right direction. So that's what he had to do on a regular basis to motivate his team. I mean, these guys are on Wall Street. Wall Street, it's not, I've been there, it's not literally paved with money. A lot of people think it is, but like a lot of young people did, he headed right to Wall Street because he wanted to make it big. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted to be something bigger than he was and go somewhere. And so naturally, he went there with an entrepreneurial spirit. He's a grinder, he's a hustler. He wanted to get plugged in, got into a firm, started to develop his skill set, started to develop his knack and his ability to move people to take action, move people to buy, move people to partake in his product or service. So a lot of what he had to do and developed and what he became very good at was a lot of what you have to do. And when it comes to you and I, our mission isn't much different. We have to convince people on a daily basis. You have to convince people to do business with you. You're either being convinced or you're convincing someone in every transaction that you have. Maybe it's somebody that you want to date, or the person that if you're married, the person that you married, when you wanted to marry them, you had to convince them, and you even had to probably, if you're the male in that relationship, you had to get on a knee, pretty much, right? You had to take a knee to ask them. And up into that point, is the process that's going on up to that point where you actually go in for the close. But what makes some people, like this guy, Jordan Belfort, phenomenal, he's performing at a whole nother level, and then he started his own firm, and they raked in millions. Now, granted, there was a lot of illegal things happening, and if it's ethical, I'm down with it. I don't want you to get to your end goal by doing something illegal or unethical. That's not what I want you to do. But what I want you to take away from this is some of the differences. And one of the main differences that happened and that you saw Jordan do and display was this story. Because we all have this story. And one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, he talks about really there's three things that are directly related to your success, and we're going to talk about, just briefly touch on those, but the story is what I want to really focus on. Because if you can read this, I don't know if you can read it. If you can, if you're listening on the podcast, just listen to this one quote here. The only thing standing between you and your goal is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. And that happens to all of us. Trust me, I know it happens to me. When I was starting, my salon, it was, I went back and forth with myself for probably a year and a half, telling myself stories as to, why I can't open a salon. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the training, right? Those are stories. So I want you to be thinking about that, because we all have stories that we're telling ourselves on a regular basis as to why we can't achieve something. And they're limiting. They're limiting our stories. And another thing, that Tony talks about is he talks about strategy and he talks about state. So tonight we're going to briefly go over, those three things: the story, the state, and the strategy. Because if you get a grip on those three key areas, that can be huge that can be monumental. It can help you break through. It can help you break through and get to the other side of wherever you are now. You want to get to the other side, you're going to have to change something in each of those areas. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Your story, your state, your strategy, give you some examples of, things that I've experienced, and maybe give you some ideas on how you can experience that too. So I want you to stick with us. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to dive right in. We're going to get into what the story, the state, and strategy is, and what might be some of the things that are holding you back, that held me back for many years before I was able to start to break through. And the things that was holding, Jordan back, in that movie, and you see him kind of go through that series of events and the sequence of events, but the story is where we're going to start. So when we come back, take a quick break. We're going to talk about the story. Stick with us. You're rolling with the D. If you're listening on a podcast, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on the live stream or you're on Twitter, make sure you're using our hashtag RWTD for Rolling with the D. And stay tuned. We're going to come back in just a few minutes.
Your morning, your job, your activities throughout the day, they all take a toll on you. Then you have to do it all again, and again, and again. Sometimes you need an extra charge. Awake Energy Shots give your body the boost it needs when you can't afford a letdown. Take charge. Get Awake Energy Shots exclusively at shop.com.
This break is brought to you by The Salon 1.0, a Paul Mitchell Focus Salon with locations in Tampa, Florida and Oldsmar, Florida. Are you tired of the same old routine when you go to the salon? You know the one I'm talking about. You go into the salon, sit down, and the stylist says, "What are you getting done?" And then when you leave, you have a shorter version of the same thing you came in with. Then it's time to upgrade your salon experience and visit the Salon 1.0 near you. Our team of salon professionals are trained in the latest techniques in hair cutting, hair coloring, and hair styling, and will offer you customized consultations with every visit. Enjoy our complimentary beverage bar and private shampoo room where you can sit back, relax, and enjoy a hot towel treatment, head massage, and hand massage with every visit. Come in and let one of our Paul Mitchell trained professionals create your new look. Visit us at www.thesalon1.net to schedule your next reservation. That's www.thesalon1.net. You can also reach us in Tampa at 813-280-2953 or in Oldsmar at 813-854-4505. Visit the Salon 1.0 and let us show you what the salon experience is all about. All right, welcome back. You're back in the place to be, rolling with the D. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving some of your time to me as I work on some mindset maintenance, some mindset development. Tonight, we're talking about a little bit of inspiration that I took away from watching the movie Wolf of Wall Street, the true account, the true story of Jordan Belfort, who literally took over Wall Street, raked in tons of money, did a lot of things he shouldn't have done, had a great knack for persuading people, had a great knack for selling, for his business, convincing people, rallying people. Unbelievable. Now, today, I mean, he did some time in prison, got out, and started a company where he actually does some training, some sales training. He uses a method they call it straight line method. You can learn more about that. Look him up. Interesting character. The movie was beyond belief, and I read the book and watched the movie, and it blew my mind. But the thing that we're talking about tonight is about the stories that we tell ourselves. And that was one of the quotes from the movie. The only thing standing between you and your goal is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. So why would we do that to ourselves? A lot of it comes from maybe there's an underlying fear. I know for me, starting a salon, I was telling myself things like I didn't have the money, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the connections. How am I going to find a place? How am I going to, sign a lease? How am I going to find people to work, in the salon? All of these things were part of the story that I was telling myself. All of these things were part of the story. So that could be a big thing that could be holding you back. So I want you to be thinking about, what stories are you telling yourself? You know, what stories are you telling yourself on a regular basis as to why you don't have the job that you want? Why you don't have the relationship that you want? Why you're not making the money that you want? Why you don't live in the house that you want? What are the stories that you tell yourself? Because we all do it. You're telling yourself a story all the time. You're either telling yourself a story that's getting you closer to your goals, or you're telling yourself a story that's limiting and taking you away, or holding you back. And we're our own kind of worst enemies when it comes to storytelling. And that storytelling, sometimes it comes from a few different places, and I want to touch on those. Like, a lot of times you have to inventory, right? Think about who you hang around. You are who you hang around. One of my mentors always says that, you are who you hang around. So if you're hanging around a bunch of broke people and you're broke, don't be surprised. If you're hanging around a bunch of overweight people and you're overweight, don't be surprised. And if you're hanging around a bunch of rich people and you're rich, don't be surprised, because you literally are who you hang around. So when you start hanging around those people, parts of their story influence your story. So you start to tell some of the same stories. And you'll even notice that when people start hanging around other people and then they're apart, but they're talking, they sometimes not only pick up the same accent as that person, but a lot of the same, mannerisms, a lot of the same dialogue starts coming out of their mouth, and the stories start to intertwine. So that could be a big benefit to you, just to know that the stories that you have going in your head through your ears, the auditory that you're hearing, that you're picking up, it can reverberate and come right out of your mouth. Now, if you knew that, what would you do differently? You'd probably want to start thinking about hanging around people that are living the same way, going after similar things, have achieved things that you want to achieve. You probably would start to do that a little bit differently. And when that happens, then the story starts to change. When I changed that story and I started telling myself, you know what? I can open a salon. I can start my own company. I will find people that want to make a difference in the industry. I will find people, that want great training, that want great education, a great opportunity to make incredible income, that want to be on this mission to literally, affect thousands and thousands of people through what we do on a daily basis. I will find those people. So once I started telling myself that and replacing some of the old story with some of the new story, it took away a lot of the fear, took away a lot of the anxiety, took away a lot of the hesitation and the procrastination, because stories will do that. They'll literally stop you in your tracks. So you're sitting there, we call it analysis paralysis. And that happened to me for a year and a half. I was like thinking about the salon, like, could I do it? Could I do it? And that story I was telling myself about not having the knowledge, the money, the time, the skill, the connections, held me back for a year and a half. Stopped me from starting. Oh yeah, I was thinking about it. Started writing down little notes about it, but never took any real action towards it because the story never changed. So I want you to remember that the story is a key component. Now the second component we're talking about here is going to be strategy. Now the strategy has a lot to do with how you're going about it. Now you might be trying it one way, the strategy that you're using, and it's not working, but you keep on doing the same thing. Now we know by definition, if you keep doing the same thing but expecting different results, we call that insanity. So you have to examine what your strategy is. Initially, my strategy to have a salon was to partner with somebody. So this one lady, she came and she was telling me she had this salon and it was kind of sitting there vacant, and I could come in and I could do this and that. Gave me the keys. I'm so excited. I'm thinking, wow, this is perfect. This is going to be a great partnership. So I go in there. I start remodeling the place. I put in thousands and thousands of dollars into remodeling the place. Never do any really due diligence on her, and never really get my books in order, never get anything official on paper. And wouldn't you know, after a couple of months, turns out she's upside down and I'm out because I can't afford to pay her debt, which I didn't even know she had. My strategy for going about getting the salon was all wrong. And I did that twice, right? So 2 times I tried to partner because that was my initial strategy. I can't do it, right? Some of that story still crept in. So I'm going to partner with somebody that has the salon and has the resources, and then I'm going to add what I can add to that, and then I'm going to develop my company and my system from there. So that was my initial strategy, and it failed twice. And after the second time, which literally wiped me out financially, that's when I decided, you know what? I got to come up with a different strategy. This is not working. This is not working. So I want you to think about that. You know, what is your strategy for opening up your business or growing your business, and how is it working for you? You have to evaluate that strategy on a regular basis. You have to evaluate it, and you have to look and you have to say, hey, this is working for me, or this isn't working for me. And there's a few things that I want you to think about when it comes to story and when it comes to strategy. You know, three, I guess you could call like 3 mandates. You know, I don't want you to, when you're thinking about your story, I don't want you to start telling your story completely different right away. I mean, you still want to acknowledge reality. So one of the things I want you to think about is, I want you to see things as they are, but not worse than they are. Right? You might not have the money right now. That might be a reality for what you're trying to purchase, but that doesn't mean that you don't deserve it. Sometimes people, like, just because they're seeing it one way and then they go way past that. So see things as they are, but not worse than they are. The second thing is I want you to start looking for ways to see it better than it is. So could you possibly stretch your imagination and think of ways? And that's where you got to really challenge your mindset. And that's where the input, what's going into your head, is really going to matter. What kind of input? What are you listening to? What are you reading on a regular basis? Who are you listening to? What kind of programs are you watching on TV? Because you're going to hear the bad news. Trust me, you don't have to tune in to hear it. You're going to hear it from other people, because most people are tuned in. They're tuned into all the noise and all of the tragedies and violence that's going on, that they never really go for it, because the story now becomes, the world is too dangerous. I'm not going to really attempt anything. I'm just going to sit back, do my 9 to 5, collect a paycheck, and let my brain go into atrophy. You know, where it just kind of, if you don't use it, atrophy is if you don't use something, you lose it. And we know that to be true. If you don't use it, you lose it. Think about muscles you don't use. Then all of a sudden you go to a gym, you do a few curls, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sore, because you don't use those muscles. Or you went for a run or a walk, and your legs and your butt and everything's killing you because you don't use it. You don't use it, you lose it. So you start to use your mind, you start to try to see things better than they are. So you want to see things first as they are, but not worse. And then you want to see things better than they are. And the last thing is, you want to then make things better than they are. So that's going to be the 3 things when you're starting to change your strategy. You acknowledge where you're at, and then you start to make an improvement mentally. You start to see it better, and then you start to go to work at it and make it better. So when it comes to strategy, I want you to examine your strategy. I want you to see where you're at. I want you to make it, think about it, see it better, and then I want you to make it better. So that's strategy. And the last one we're going to talk about when we come back from break is going to be the state. And that could be the one thing that you actually are going to start with. So I saved that one for last for the purpose of, it's going to be really where you want to start, because the state that you're in is going to be huge. So when we come back, we're going to talk about state. Stick with us. You're rolling with the D. I'm your host, Sunny D. Make sure you're using the hashtag if you're on the social mediums, hashtag RWTD if you're listening to the podcast. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages, and we're going to talk about the state, which controls everything else. So stay tuned. This break is brought to you by 1.0 Express, a Paul Mitchell focus salon and professional training salon. Are you a professional stylist who loves professional training? Or are you a salon owner who wants your stylist to receive the best professional training and become more well-rounded? Then you need to visit 1.0 Express, a professional training salon, where we offer a variety of weekly mini classes and workshops that range in areas such as hair cutting, hair coloring, hairstyling, and business building. 1.0 Express, a professional training salon. Visit us at www.thesalon1.net for our upcoming schedule of classes and workshops, or call us at 813-870-3700. That's 813-870-3700. 1.0 Express, a professional training salon for salon professionals who love professional training. We'll see you there. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're in the place to be, rolling with the D. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. If you're on the podcast, listening to us on iTunes, thanks for listening. Excited to be here tonight. We're going through something that really I got inspired by, the movie Wolf of Wall Street. If you haven't seen it, gotta see it. Incredible movie directed by Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio. Depicts the turbulent lifestyle of a Wall Street trader named Jordan Belfort. And in the movie, I picked up some things, but this one quote that I've been kind of sharing and building our topic on tonight is, the only thing standing between you and your goal is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. So we're talking about story, and one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, he goes through something at his trainings that he does. If you haven't ever been to one of his trainings, the one that I went to, Unleash the Power Within, you want to go to that. He has several that he does, several books. I'm reading one of his newest books right now, but one of the core focuses of his trainings is about this story, the strategy, and the state. So the story is really, what story are you telling yourself? And you need to change that story. You need to get around different stories. You need to not let that story, because that story is truly BS, guys. It's really something you tell yourself. You know, same thing I used to do before I started my company. Oh, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the connections. So I told that story, and it held me back for a year and a half. Once I got over that story, literally got over myself, things started to change in my life. And then the next thing we were talking about is strategy. So my initial strategy didn't work, and it didn't work twice, and literally wiped me out financially. Changed my strategy. The third time around, I went at it on my own, different strategy, different result. Now we have multiple locations. So going from being wiped out to nothing, coming back with a new strategy. So how are you developing your strategy and thinking about your strategy? And the three key parts of the strategy was making sure you're seeing things as they are, but not worse than they are. So that's the reality, the acknowledgement of reality. Then you're going to start to see things better than they are. And then you're going to start to implement a plan to make it better. Because if you can see better, you can do better. So that's going to be the next part. And now we're talking about the state. And this is the last part, because I think it's the most important part. When it comes to state, we're talking about really three areas. You have your mind, you have your heart, and then you have your body. And the mind, when you're talking about the mind, talking about input, like, so where are you getting your data from? What kind of information are you feeding? And sharing some of the books that I read on a regular basis. My goal right now, before the end of this year, is to complete 10 additional books, and I set that goal a couple weeks ago. So 5 weeks, I want to complete 10 books before the end of the year, and I'm finishing the fourth one and starting the fifth one. I'll be starting the fifth one tomorrow. Why is that an important goal to me? Because that's all about my mental state. It's all about what I'm feeding my brain, knowledge and information. Now, what I have to do when I get that knowledge and information is then use it in application, use it in my business, use it in my life. So I'm reading everything from things on finance, things on entrepreneurship, things on growing a business, things on leadership, things on relationships. This is the kind of information that affects the state of mind that you're in. And you have to think about that. That's when your mind is in the right state, things that before looked impossible now seem possible. When you get your mind in the right state. Think about Roger Bannister. He was the first person to run the 4-minute mile. Now, before him, no one on the planet had ever done it. Because the story was, it can't be done. The state of mind was, it's impossible. And their strategy to go about it was the code that Roger Bannister finally cracked. So he told himself a story. I'm going to break the 4 minutes. I'm going to run it under 4 minutes. Now, the crazy part about that is when he got his mind wrapped around that, he also had to get his heart and his body into it, change the strategy, and he was able to do it. He got pacers that ran with him, and he knew each section of the mile, how many, he broke it down into how fast I need to run, each part of the mile. And he had pacers that would run, so he would run with them, and he trained, and he broke it. Crazy thing is, when he broke it, the minute he actually achieved that goal, now the story became different for everybody else. And people started breaking the 4 minutes left and right. People were doing it almost on a regular routine basis because he set a new story in place, a new strategy in place, and then everything changed. So what he fed his mind had to be a lot of that information about being able to do it. So what are you feeding your mind? That's going to be tremendous when it comes to your state. Because if you don't have your mind in the right place, the other parts of your state, your heart and your body, you can forget about it. So when you think about your heart, if your mind's not in the right place, having conviction, that's where it's going to come from when you feel it. You feel it in your heart, you feel it in your gut, right? You're feeling that because you're convicted, because you have the information, and now you're ready to do the application of the information. And that's what's going to move you, that information. That's what's going to give you the confidence and the feeling that you're doing the right thing. And that's where your heart comes into play. Being able to then take it from the mind, take the knowledge, take the information, and then put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, do the application so you can get the transformation. So those two are going to be tied in. And then the last part of that, the body. You have to think about this thing that we have, this body. The fuel that we feed it. Are you running on unleaded? Are you running on 89, 90, 93 high octane? What are you running on? One of the big things I'm thinking about right now is, as I come into the end of this year, is, the physical body. That's going to be a big project for me in my own physical body, to see different kinds of transformations that I want to do with my own body. Because I know that if I can perform at this level with this body, what if I take this body to the next level? Performance goes up. So that's something physiology. So something really simple, a great exercise that we did. So if you think about it, you have to change your state, right? Because you want to come up with a great strategy, and you're trying to get yourself to tell yourself a better story. It simply could come with just your posture. You can do a physical state change and change your physiology in an instant. Just by in your chair right now, if you're driving, listen to this on a podcast. If you're running, just stop for a second, right? And stand there. I want you to stand there, plant both feet firmly, about shoulder width apart. And then you put your hands up, right? Chest out. What is that? This is the Superman pose. Or the Superwoman pose. Now, when you do that, you change your physiology. You start to feel different. It's been scientifically proven just by doing that Superman or Superwoman or superhero pose, that you release testosterone, and that testosterone gives you a boost of confidence and gives you an initial boost of energy. And it's a real temporary hit, but it helps release dopamines in your brain, and all of a sudden, you feel invigorated. You feel almost invincible. Just that one exercise. You could do that 30 seconds. Just stand in that pose. Superman pose, Superwoman pose, and you will literally change your physiology, scientifically proven, release a little bit of testosterone, release some dopamine, just by planting your feet firmly, standing up, boom. So think about the next time you're in a tough situation or you're going through something, you step away, maybe get into a private area, go in the bathroom or whatever, and just stand in that pose, stand in that Superman, Superwoman pose, just for 30 seconds. You don't need to do it long. 30 seconds. You'll change your physiology. So that, all of those three things together that make up your state, getting your mind in the right place, your heart in the right place, your body in the right place, helps work on your state. And you have to also think about the input. What are you putting in your body? Are you eating a lot of green vegetables? Are you drinking plenty of water? Getting rest? These are things that I'm thinking about constantly that I need to work on, because I'm a maniac. I'll work 18 hours, sleep 2 hours, and then do it all over again. And that does have a toll on your body. It breaks your body down. So getting the rest, that's going to be a big thing for me. Feeding myself the right fuel, lots of green veggies, about 70% of the diet. You want to have it to be live food, water-loving food, getting plenty of water. And then, of course, exercising, using the muscle groups. You don't have to go and pound a bunch of weight, but what kind of exercise are you doing? Do you get winded after walking up a few flights of stairs? That's an indicator that you are not in shape. You need to work on that. It could be walking, bike riding, a little bit of running, maybe swimming. Basic stuff could be sit-ups, push-ups, just to take care of your physical body, because all of that is energy rich. It gives you energy. And that's what you're going to need to perform at the highest level. So if you have the state, if you're in the right state of mind, state of body, if you're in the right state, your heart's in the right place, and then you're going to be able to execute strategies that you come up with 100%. You're going to be able to execute those strategies that you thought of. You're going to tell yourself a different story. You're not going to feel like you're in trouble. You remember what happened to Mike Tyson? After he got knocked out that first time, what do you think happened to his story? It totally changed. What do you think happened to his strategy? It totally changed. And then what happened to his physiology? It changed. Even when he came out, he didn't look as impressive as he always did after he knocked so many people out. And then he started getting knocked out left and right every single fight. What happened? Those three things. The story changed. He wasn't invincible anymore. Then it came to his strategy. He started fighting somebody else's fight, not his own fight. And then the state, his physiology went away. His physiology went on the canvas is what it did. He laid flat on his back plenty of times. It got so bad he bit some guy's ear off, right? So that's what could happen. But you have control of that, guys. That's what I wanted to bring you this message tonight, to talk to you about that. You have control of it. So I want you to think about the stories that you're telling yourself. I want you to be thinking about the strategies that you're using. Are they working? Are they effective? Evaluate those. We've got a couple weeks left in 2014. The year is not over. Start making some of these changes now. If you're thinking about joining a gym or going on some kind of diet or whatever it is, why wait till January 1st before you make a change? You can make it right now. Or else January 1st is just another part of your story. It's just an excuse you're telling yourself. Oh, I can't start the gym today. I can't start the diet today. I can't look for the job today. I can't do this today. It's a part of that bullshit story you're telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. You can start it today. You can start it right now. You can start it tomorrow. You can start it wherever you're at. It's part of the story. Come up with a new strategy. Work on your state. Work on your mind. Feed it good materials. Feed it good audio content. Feed it rolling with the D. Plug this in. Get your iPod on. Open up your iTunes podcast. You're subscribed to the podcast. Listen to the podcast. No more excuses. Let's make the rest of this year the best of this year, and let's roll that right into 2015. So that's the deal, guys. That's the message for tonight. I'm glad you guys are joining. I'm happy to have you here. It's my pleasure to be your chairman of Mindset Development, Personal Development. I'm excited to blast through the rest of this month and get into 2015. Going to be big things for Sunny D. I know there's going to be big things for you, and I can't wait to hear about your victories. Can't wait to hear about your goals and seeing where 2015 is going to take you. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you're leaving comments, leaving reviews. If you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure you're leaving some reviews for the podcast so we can move up in the rankings in the iTunes store and we can get this content in front of other people. I'd appreciate that. If you're watching on Ustream.tv, make sure you're leaving comments, sharing the link, sharing this with your friends, sharing this with your family. Anybody that you think maybe could use a little checkup from the neck up. So on that note, just want to say one last thing to you guys. I know if you can hear me, if you're within range of my voice or you're seeing me on a video, then I know that you're not finished yet. You've got greatness in you, and I'm here to help you unleash it. So let's make this a big rest of the year, and let's roll this baby right into 2015. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. This is Sunny D. You're rolling with the D. Have a great evening. Take care.